Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the TLOI Expert Series Tech Talk Strategies for Digital Leadership. I'm glad that all of our esteemed speakers for Thought Leaders of India and delegates are here. A warm welcome once again. Just a little bit about TLOI. Thought Leaders of India is India's fastest growing and most premium community of business leaders and C suite professionals. We welcome you to the TLOI Expert Series, where industry pioneers and CXOs come together to explore strategies and insights driving digital transformation in today's rapidly evolving business landscape. I do know it's a Friday morning, and I really appreciate all of you taking out your time to come here today. Um, we're excited to have Mr. Prashant Mishra, CTO Securitas, Mr. Dipankar Ghosh, Head of Information Technology Max Healthcare, Kumar Gaurav, who's going to be moderating this panel, partner EY, and Narrottam Sharma, Chief Information Officer, Jubilant FoodWorks Limited. With that, I will hand over to you, Kumar, to take this conversation forward. And welcome once again to everyone.
Thank you, Disha. Good morning, everyone. No, been a while. We've been all interacting. So thank you all for taking out time on a Friday morning. I know we have our busy schedule, so we'll try and catch up on the time that we have lost in the first few hours. But welcome all once again, and welcome to the panelists as well. I think it's a small gathering, so I think we will keep it open, keep it interactive, and feel free to chime in for your viewpoints. And obviously, there will be few pointers that we will have, and we feel free to chime in with your experiences and your point of view on that particular point. But before we start off, I think just a common theme, just to opening in terms of what are the key digital trends that we are seeing that impacts most of our business. And we are a business which the group is rather very diverse, people coming in from multiple sectors, multiple industries. So if we have to commonalize the three themes or three trends, what that would be. Maybe we can start with Dipankar.
Thank you, Gaurav. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's a summer morning, right? Super hot. See, if I talk about the digital part, and I'm into the healthcare, since the COVID was there and the post-COVID or pre-COVID, what I have faced that everything went into the cloud, went into the app, went into the like physical to the virtual one. Like एक बच्चा अगर घर पे रहता है and then school is closed, they used to do a Teams call, Google Meet or anything, or Zoom. Since we are the healthcare partner, we also emphasis on the digital like journey where we want our patient to get interface, to get interlinked, and to get focus onto the health as well with the digital nature. So we are into the lot of projects that we have launched into the Max Healthcare domain, into the Max society, into the Max culture, and then there are a lot of things which we have engaged. Even just a use case I want to give you. Recently, I was discussing with one of my colleague today in this event before I start of this event. Even the movement of the patient between the floors when he is admitted, we started with the porter management. Our patient tracking from the X-ray to the OT to the rooms, all are being tracked in the digital fashion. We can track even a single movement. Okay, this is what one of the use case which we have interface. There are a lot of things which we have done. I'll give you a journey. Thanks, Gaurav. This is something which I want to introduce you with the use case which we have started. I think if some of my other colleagues.
Thank you. Thank you, Dipankar. I think, Narrottam, to question your point, so you are in a business which is multimodal, multiple touch points, B2C, B2B, etc. Now, with the trends that we see currently, how do you select, and you all already are an established organization with a good IT infrastructure. So how do you pick up on the digital trends, and how do you down select a particular use case for it?
Hi, good morning, everyone. First, I'll give you a view. I think it will be important to know what Jubilant FoodWorks is into. So far we know that we are one of the largest Domino's franchise in the country, and we are the only one in country. We are in Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and now we have recently took over the Turkey business. So these are the four places where we are. Apart from this, we have Dunkin', we have Hongs, which is our own brand, and we have Popeyes, which we are expanding in the country. So there are four major brands what we work. We have 2,200 stores in the country, 800 in Turkey. So that's a store retail side of the spread we have. Then we have 8 commissaries where we manufacture and develop our raw material to the product which finished good which goes to the stores. Then we have a logistic environment which fulfill the requirement of all these 2000 stores every second day. So there's a huge transport management what we need to manage. And then we are a tech house. We have a big tech team which help us to develop the entire tech footprint. So if you look at in a single Jubilant FoodWorks, we are a retail, which is our front. We are a supply chain and logistic company, and then we are a manufacturing and at the same time tech. So these are the four largely the industry aspect if you look at in the business what we are in. Now, just to bring on the point what you said, we are among the top 3 apps in the country in comparison to Zomato, Swiggy, and then Domino's. We are the number one in that from experience and from the download perspective. So on the front side, we are anyway quite ahead from the beginning. But that's not the only thing which will help us. We have to bring our backend system also to be tech leverage, and that's where our complete focus these days. So if you talk about few critical tech, whether it is cloud, we are almost 100% on cloud, so there's nothing that we can say that we are not leveraging it. If you talk about mobile applications on cloud, we are largely customer app is there. We are building our store app. I'll give you a perspective. The 2000 stores, we have a guest delight manager, we call store manager. How do we empower that particular person, because that particular person bring the revenue to us? So our entire focus is any tech what we develop, how does it reach to the last mile of the person, how do we enable them? And there are 4 simple aspects what we keep when we select any digital use case. Either it should help either in a revenue upliftment, it should help in revenue leakage control, it should help us to bring efficiency to the store. Third, which is very important, where we talk about cybersecurity and everything, that how do we ensure sustainability of a business. And fourth is experience, whether it is customer, whether it is employee. These are the 4 pivots largely what we keep, Gaurav, when we do selection of a tech. And then definitely there has to be payback and everything, and all has to drive from the business strategy. Last, to the point that our business strategy carry 4 verticals: customer and market first, operational excellence, data and tech, and people and culture. So if you look at from the organization strategy, data and tech is an integral part. So we are leveraging that to the last possible way where it can create a value to us. I'll just
No, thanks, Narrottam. I mean, important points you brought about in terms of the value outcomes, and come to that point also on the security part. We will touch upon it. But we looked upon a business model which touches human lives. We touched upon which touches QSR activities. Prashant, to you, probably yours is a business which is more manpower driven, right? So for you, what is the key trends that you look at, and how do you see digital interventions in industry which is more manpower and people driven?
So, good morning. Again, like Narrottam, let me just give you a little bit of idea about my industry. So I'm part of Securitas. Securitas is essentially into manned guarding. That's one of their primary verticals. The other vertical that we have is background verifications, surveillance. We also do cash management. We don't do it in India, but globally we do that. It's the 4th largest. So just like partnerships in audit firms, Securitas is one of the big 4s as far as security is concerned across the world. In India, we are the 3rd largest. We have around 50,000 employees, including background verification, etc. And it's to Kumar's point, it's a very manpower driven. And in India, it's like it's a very big challenge. Now, that being said, this industry, the security industry in India, it's that pie is constantly actually increasing. So it's one of the most fastest growing industry, and it will keep growing as investment keeps coming into India. Infrastructure is developed. There's not enough state guarding facilities or securing facilities available. So it's always private players who come in to actually fill that particular gap. Coming to your point, when we talk about digital, our essence of digital is very different. What we are trying to do is we are disrupting the entire security mechanism by bringing 2 people together. One is our client, our customer. So the security officer who's probably like, there is a security officer right now for this particular facility, and the guard. So nobody in between. While we have a lot of structure, what we're trying to do is we are trying to build platforms that is ensuring that these two people meet, just like you have an Uber platform. So in what we do in Uber is essentially the driver and the customer are face to face. The platform is just a facilitator. There's like a bunch of different things that are happening in the background, but we'll make sure that these two people come together and both of them have that stickiness to the platform. So when we develop technology, when we are looking into digital interventions, we are trying to make sure that like these two people come together. Number two, we are using heavy duty data analytics in order to ensure that we can predict where there's a scarcity that is going to happen and how do we fulfill that particular gap. And I want to like close this by saying that that India is actually a very the demographics that we have for our guarding facility comes from the hinterland. And even I did not know that before I joined this particular job, that it is entirely driven by crop cycles. So we're sitting here in this room talking about digital transformation. We have an industry that is entirely driven because of weather. So like as the crop cycle starts, our primary product actually just goes away from the market. We don't have anybody. So we have to ensure that we can replenish that scarcity quickly from somewhere else. And that's where everybody actually struggles. So that's where we look at digital transformation. We look at digital technologies to make sure that we can predict in this sector, in this city, this is going to be a scarcity that's going to happen. Where do we have the manpower?
No, that's Uberification of manpower services, as you said, right? So maybe this is a small gathering, so I'll open this for the group as well to contribute. So if I have to ask everyone as to how do you foster this culture of innovation, because tech shelf life has come down drastically from what it used to be 7 years to 5 years to 3 years, and probably now even lesser than that, right? So how do you constantly traverse and look into what are the digital trends that we have, and how do you foster that element of innovation in your organizations? Maybe we can start off with the panelists and then open to the forum to share their experiences. Abhishek.
Yes, so I think the way I see it, it is driven from two stakeholders. One is an external, and one, of course, is the internal. So for our organization, external stakeholder is my customer who is planning to consume. So I represent Dish TV. So we help to make the entertainment reach the households in the country. And also we now have a OTT aggregator platform, which is called as Watcho. So the aim is that the customers are having a problem to remember their recharge date of Z5, Sony Live, Disney Hotstar, the OTT. And it was very costly. You end up subscribing 12-month plan just to get a good deal, and you never watch more than 2 or 3 things. So we just try to solve that problem. So the external factor is the customer. The customer has choices. So he is demanding. So if you are not innovating, the customer will go to the next best player, right? So that is one external factor. And then to match that expectation of the customer, we have to drive the innovation internally. So those internal things are then department-wise, that what are the new things that you are doing. So for example, for my domain, which is technology, one of the main goals is have at least at different levels n number of projects which are press-worthy. So the initiative should be so big that probably we can have a press release for that. So again, it's a very big goal. Not everybody can achieve it, but then it makes the people to try and do something new. And so, for example, last year, one of the things we did was how do I engage different stakeholders in the country, like housewives, students, to be part of this economy. So we said, okay, we need call center people to answer our customer calls. Can we train these people and use their free time? Students have free time during summer or winter vacations, or maybe after college. Housewives time, once they are done with the household. So 4 hours if in a day if they can do. So this is one of the events which we did. So now as we speak, around 500 such stakeholders are taking calls in 14 different languages across the country.
That's quite an innovation. Any other stories you want to share, anyone?
So, as I was talking about, I basically come from waste management services, and I think if you talk to any companies as such, that's the last priority. I've been in for almost like before I started my own company, I was with another venture where whenever we go to any PSUs or any such whoever is generating waste, that's the last priority. So now what we have seen in over the years, that you may have implemented all tech, this one for your employee management, your CRMs and everything, but then for the waste, there was nothing. And it's a major problem actually. If I just talk about a recent case with one of the refineries, what happens is that they generate waste after everything is done, there will still be almost around say X amount of sludge which is there to be disposed of. Now, because of the new regulations which are there in place, if they don't vacate that particular point, their entire operations will stop, because the sludge is continuously being generated. So now what we are trying to develop, and we have already given some solutions, is that a kind of a AI based method where they can predict how much sludge they will be generating in a particular year and what are the kind of solutions they can bring in. So I think even and the same goes for even like simple of your, be it hospital waste management, be it municipal waste management, which was not that tech driven till a particular time, but then now things are coming in, and that's where we are trying to intervene. Thanks.
So thanks Abhishek for bringing that point of external, internal, because ultimately these are the critical stakeholder we do innovation. So good way to look at it for us, Gaurav, that at every aspect, the innovation has to happen. When I say nothing get invented in this world, everything get innovated. Everything is existing. You have to just innovate from a different purpose. So that fits. But the larger question comes in when you look for innovation. You have limited resource. You have a limited bunch of amount of money as a budget. So how do you prioritize and how do you differentiate in that entire piece? So one is definitely you have to bring a culture of innovation where you say, what is coming as an emerging tech? What are the respective use case which fits into my strategy or my business problem? How do I prioritize them from a prototyping point of view? So something which is 2 years far from today, I might just look, let's say AI for example, there's a lot of buzz. But if you look at when you try to go and identify the real use cases on the ground, you might find it to a very specific area. But do I become Gango and I start talking about AI across? Probably the answer is not. I need to think of my business and what falls under the orbit of that particular area. So what we do, we keep one bucket for innovation of emerging tech. The second piece which you work upon is what is immediate transformative benefit to the organization. So that's our second bucket. And third is, which is our operation. How do we bring cost optimization by the innovative way so that we can have a direct impact to the EBITDA, because tech is largely today, when you go to the CFO, when you go to the CEO, despite everyone want digital transformation, but they see that the cost is humongous, and for them the driver is different from you. You think of tech, they think of EBITDA and revenue, right? So how do you put that particular balance between these two? So innovation happen at every aspect, and then you have to reward the people who bring it, keep a culture of motivation, and then a few ideas which we heard continuously in last 2 companies here as well, that keep an idea generation forum, because every organization has a mix of 20-30 years of experienced people, and then you have millennial, and then you have Gen Zs. So all these have very different way to look at the same thing. And if you keep that idea forum, funnel is there, you have to choose depending upon your need, but that's probably...
Yeah. Now, an important aspect, I think, just covers while we are talking about new emerging trends, right? How do you, and we are all driven by people in our respective organizations. So how do you enable your own people to continually upskill yourself? And that's one of the areas or themes that probably I have seen in my experience. But I would like to hear from your experiences as to how do you enable your own staff to continuously upskill. It's not always that for any new emerging tech you will hire a new person, right? So how do you plan to do about it? It's an important aspect that we obviously we wanted to share the group's feeling on that.
So let me give me background of my company. Though my name spelling and company spelling is wrong, that will be sorted later on. So I come from a company where we manufacture smart card, GSM card. So when I say smart card, we manufacture debit card, credit card for different domestic and international banks, and any kind of gift card, charge card. Whatever card you get money out of that, we manufacture those. And GSM, we manufacture SIMs and eSIMs, which is eSIMs mainly used for IoT and OT devices. So you talked about how to upscale the internal team. I'll talk about the most regulated piece, which is debit card, credit card, because we have to follow guideline from if we are manufacturing RuPay cards, which is coined by Mr. Modi, we have to follow NPCI, National Payment Commission of India guideline we have to follow. Similar way, Master and Visa have their own guideline. It's almost similar, but 10% here and there. And on top of that, there are certain guidelines from RBI because it's a plastic money. So it's a very interesting thing. And you have to innovate also. You have to, because it's a volume game. It's per card cost is not so big money, but it's all about the volume. How many cards per day you can manufacture. So all the regulations which are happening, it is mainly in the shop floor. So there are certain sections in the shop floors. It's similar like any other manufacturing organizations. There, these regulators have allowed to do the innovation, but the but is very important. You have to show them. They will audit it and pass it because it's all about data, information security related things. So it's very interesting. What we have created, we had created a POC test lab kind of a thing. It's a highly secure POC test lab. You cannot leave it open. It has a separate, altogether layered of security and all those things. There, we do a lot of new technologies within our internal team, as well as we can onboard third-party partner also there with all NDA, SNDA, etc. There we do a lot of innovative stuff. How to do, for if I take one of the important section of soft floor, that is quality assurance, quality checks. You have seen everybody has the credit card in your wallet. There is one of the most important thing is, apart from chip, magnet strip and all, artwork. The color on the top of your credit card, debit card, that plays a very important role. Every bank gives us different artworks. So passing that quality in a volume, if I do manually, it takes around less than, you say, 3 to 2 minutes. If a manual person is handling and checking that the artwork is up to the mark. But similar way, what we did, we use AI technology with shot through cameras and all. It has reduced to less than 1 minute. So, but before implementing all those things, we have to put it in test lab. The regulators come, review it, passed it, and then it goes to soft floor. This course of everything, we also put our internal team so that they also get learn, and this is the way we follow.
That's interesting. Interesting thing.
So I wanted to add something on the innovation part, like you mentioned. So I'll have to give a little bit of context to this. Prior to working with Securitas, was with like other organizations, and one of the things which I've noticed, we come with a very blinkered view of the world. When you come to this side of the world, as I was saying earlier, your eyes are open. There's a whole new segment that exists. One of the things which I found, and I know it's a motherhood statement that's always made in all these forums where we say that, like, innovation के लिए हमने एक अलग से unit बना दी, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया. Now I've started wiser by 3 years. I have realized that, like, creating an innovation group or like something like that is like changing the direction of a super tanker with a tugboat. You don't do that with 50,000 people. You can't do that innovation. So there has to be a different way. You have to bring innovation to them, like, so when we launched our internal platform, our guards, and these people, like, as I said, the demographics is very different. So you have a certain kind of a point of view about them, and that needs to break. You find people, like, when you give them these opportunities, one of the things which I realized, and like, it's talked about quite a bit, is people are extremely tech savvy. They understand. They may not be able to understand what's written in English, but like, they figure it out, like, what this app is, how it's going to work. And one of the things which I noticed and I've started using that is, I'm going to use Hindi here a little bit. Guards ke sath jaakar baith jao. Have a little bit of pan masala with them, and later on they will tell you so many things. साहब अगर इसके अंदर ये चीज कर लेते ना, तो वो client खुश हो जाएगा. That is innovation. Like, it's like, you're completely going away. So out of the air conditioned rooms and the whiteboards, you're doing this. He will tell you exactly what your client wants. He will tell you exactly what the other person wants. He will tell you exactly what problems he's actually facing, and consequently you can take that thing to the drawing board and say, okay, now I'm going to develop a new feature and I'm going to give it back to them, and then they will come back. That's one thing. The second thing which goes a little bit when you're doing change management is we keep talking about training. And what we do is, like, we create a product and then we create a training platform around that particular product and we say ki is tarah se training karenge. What we did in a different way was we just threw that particular product into the workforce, and they started writing WhatsApp messages कि इसको ऐसे करना चाहिए, इसको ऐसा करना चाहिए, and they started using these screen video कि अच्छा ये करो, and we started building that thing with the same language which they are using and giving it back to the crowd, and the uptake of the product was phenomenal. So no training, nobody is being called, there's no like workshops that are being done. They are doing it themselves. They are teaching each other how to use this particular platform, and they say कि अच्छा जिस पर P लिखा हुआ है ना, वो P वो दबा दो. And when you listen to those things, it's just it is a hair-raising experience. Like, again, given the background that we come from, the way innovation actually happens is completely different in these kind of organizations.
So just to pick up your question, which you talk about skill, I think we missed that in between. See, tech is a never-changing game. Skill is a shortage. So how do you fill that particular? I think that was largely your question was. So you have to ensure that you create a continuous learning environment. And first and foremost, we all have also come to 20 to 23 years of our experience, and if we're still relevant in this room, it's purely because all of us have learned new things and made ourselves adaptable and flexible to that change. And that is a personal onus, Gaurav, to individual. At the same time, from an organization point of view, if you look at, you cannot survive with one person with one skill until it is very specialized. At few places, you need to build a cross skilling of people, and that too, what they like and what they don't like, right? So let's say development. Earlier, people used to have one tech and they go deeper, but now you are thinking that developer can think of a data side also of something of it if he has an interest. So open that environment for cross skilling of people. At the same time, what we have done recently, because this is part of one of their feedback too, that what is there for us to learn new. So we created that you have this much of amount park for you, select 3 training of your own which are relevant for immediate and future need of a company as well. So that's create a motivation for them to go learn, reimburse. So this is largely on that. So I think
I'm from the HR background and I work for a engineering consultancy services. So, being in HR, it's the point that I would like to make. Yes, as an organization, we train people, we upskill them. So I'm not talking about that. We all understand, everybody, all companies do that. So what I'm trying to tell you, another different point here is that, it's the individual's desire that he or she remains relevant in the industry he or she is operating in. So it's your own efforts by which you make your place in the organization or the industry. So staying relevant is very, very important. That's what I'm saying. That you hone your skills, you try to push yourselves into different areas which you would have not done it. Why I'm saying this is because I've come across many people during my course of experience. So I have seen people who have actually lost their jobs, or their skills are no more relevant in the industry. And they come to me, I say, yes, I know you are a good person, but then, you are not the kind of skills you bring in. I really cannot help you with any kind of job. And it's very sorry to say in such a blunt words, but that's the reality. So, and I have come across people who have, developed themselves to say, okay, this is my qualification, but then this is what I'm doing and I'm good at it. And people recognize that, and he or she is like thriving, career is booming. So all of that. So it is more important to stay relevant in the circumstances you are there. And Mr. Mishra, which point which you made, I understand Securitas, and I also see this kind of difference in the sector I'm dealing in. I have a set of people who are highly intellectual. We do innovation every day. So engineers are meant to do innovation. So they are engineers who are at site and looking at the situation. So they innovate and they come up with the solutions and they do then and there. So there is no recognition. We come to know much later, oh, such and such engineer, junior guy has done it, approved by the client, delivered, completed, and then we think of, okay, how do we reward, how do we do it? I mean, some people are kind of not even recognized. They don't even come to the surface for such things. So there is innovation, and of course we do as an organization have a special cell. A lot of money goes into it. I've been asked to give nominations, who are the innovators, so I have to select people. All of that we do. But this is the area which I'm trying to bring, that nobody even cares about those people who are there, and they are doing it on the ground. So I mean, really, that's where we don't even come to recognize them. It's an eye opener. What you said, hearing from the guard that, okay, this is the thing to be done. Similar people, they do it like that, and nobody knows about them. So that's the point
So,
I'm trying to say.
One rule reminded me when Prashantji was talking about guards, sitting with the guard. You guys know what is the model called 24/44? Most of the corporates follow that. 24/44. No. So I'll keep it short. So any kind of policy which is made which sitting in the 24-degree in room, and it is implemented at 44-degree on the ground. On the ground. So that is one of the challenge.
But largely, if we, so I was just thinking that, what Abhishek, I'll pick up that innovation point again. So I think in this entire thing, it goes mess that anything which is happening innovation, if you have an adoption at a ground, the user stories are coming. So I think this is prevalent across, because at Domino's, if you look at it, I did not bring this point. We have 70,000 workforce. We have white collar, blue collar, and the people to the ground. We have our riders. So I don't know whether you're aware, we have our own delivery system. We have around 20,000 riders. For them, if you bring an app which doesn't allow them to get on board in few seconds, they will lose the interest. They will go to Zomato and they will start working from there. So keeping the user in mind, having that user stories is a critical thing for any company to bring any innovation. So you can't do sitting in a boardroom and say that tomorrow I want to have an application which a writer needs to use. It will not happen. So user stories, and this is all part of your design thinking, patterns, going down, meeting people, sitting in a store. So our entire leadership, if you look at today, have a mandate that every quarter all of us has to visit and sit at the store and work from there to know the pain of that individual. So I think this is a practice which is across everyone following if you have to make a successful digital transformation.
So finally, good morning to you all. I come from a very different background where every one of us have talked about that, okay, what if you go into the 44-degree and from the 24-degree. So we've worked into the 24-degree minus degree and also the 44 degrees. So what exactly happens is what I really believe in. COVID has really taught us, to start with what he said, COVID has taught us a lot that we have been under a lot of unprecedented changes. There's no doubts about it. And how the COVID drug came up and why exactly today, if I see from the top-down approach, I would always say, you take the country as a perspective together. If you don't take country's vision, irrespective whatever you do in silos, doesn't make any sense. Today's leadership needs to bring what exactly is the strategy talking about, is intermingle, innovate. He's talking about inspire, and eventually he's brought up the last point as the impact. You need to see as an individual, as a countryman, that in case you are at number 1 position today, and rest of the people are still being known as the snake charmers, where do you stand actually to be? It's exactly like a shadi. You want to carry those people in front of the reception who really make an impact to that family. Why? Why can't you take the people from the remote places, those who are coming from the village? So that's what is the impact eventually has to come up in a country. The mission country, the vision country, when the Prime Minister Modi talks about and Dr. Jaishankar talks about Viksit Bharat 2047. He talks about only one thing, Viksit Bharat, Surakshit Bharat, Sashakt Bharat. When this will never be achieved unless and until sitting from there, turning a full U-turn, making a full S-curve of innovation, or making that kind of a round-robin loop of collaboration where public-private partnership does not come into play, irrespective whatever we may talk about the jargons of innovation. Are you able to hit the real rural India, where the woman who's sitting inside and she can be next to the close to the boundaries of the nation? She can be the major harm to all the weaknesses what you want to bring upon into the things called as the back door. How do you hit that? No matter what kind of apps you bring it up here. How would the people those who are, that's what I say, that do you want those individuals to be the pawns of the policing agency, or do you want them to be the pawns of the people, those who are there as the miscreants? Talk about the scenario. I'll take precisely 1 minute, Gaurav, more. And I want to speak about this thing only because of one reason. That when we talk about so many things, we forget that every country or every industry today wants to have a supremacy. What is that supremacy? Whether it is an air supremacy, whether it is a battleground supremacy, whether it is an industry supremacy or a competitive advantage. You talk about from the Maze attack, which started in 1998, which was majorly for what? Disrupting the communication networks. What did it achieve? Where did we reach up from the ransomware WannaCry to coming up to the Stuxnet? The most important thing from the Stuxnet was that kind of a disastrous thing which is pervasive, threat that could generate in the mind of the people, oh my God, that can be remotely done in such a way that the whole country can be made crippled at one click of the mouse. Do you understand what kind of a thing what I'm talking about? Today, if you see in the news, the major problem is the water problem. And what he talks about in the Chanakyapuri, in the news, politics. Forget about the politics. I'm trying to bring upon the guy has to put the pipe. Whoever puts the pipe first and whoever gets the water is the first winner, survival of the fittest. So are we really looking for that? When I come to the organization per se, I only talk about the PQ Air. PQ Air. When I talk about the PQ Air, I talk about start from the back AIR. The application, interoperability and the risk. We all know the risk factors and the threats which are going on in our forums. But are we really interested to have interoperability? The guys haves and the have-nots have to be merged somewhere. We need to bridge up the gap. The people from the DDA companies, those who came up, today can you beat it that their records have been fully digitized? Cannot be. They've started from 2020 and brought up into this level of 3 years of digitization. So what about the previous records which were already brittle, yellow paged, and the things which didn't come out? So there comes the role of the Tambaku somewhere in and around and sit with that guard and he says, sir, mera to bijli ka bill itna din ka maaf ho gaya. So what I'm trying to bring upon a last thing, wherever we are sitting today, you need to bridge up the gap between the last mile connectivity of the end user who is the worst stakeholder. I call it the worst stakeholder because that amma, that woman or that maid servant or the domestic help does not have an inch iota of understanding what you are going to do in the future. And if you live in these beautiful, well air-conditioned room, when you enter inside, some blunder takes place and you don't know what is the emergency gate. And that's the vulnerability, the backdoor entry for the adversary to land up into your kitty. And that kitty comes from the rural India. If you can bring them along with you, you call it an innovation, otherwise you have had it. You cannot make a Shanghai and you keep the other China as a separate China and wage a war. You can never wage a war then. So holistically, when I bring upon this thing, you need to be into a kind of a leadership because we are talking only about the digital leadership. So I talk about a leadership which mentors, which brings the people into a kind of a zone where we carry everybody together with that kind of a gap analysis. Thanks a lot.
No, Anurag, I think interesting perspective, right from societal to human values to the growth that we have. Interesting perspective in here. I think a couple of pointers that you've raised will come to that as well. But maybe before we hear.
So, hi, this is Mohit. I am also coming from a very different background, agri-tech. So, while from outside, we look like agri, behind the scenes, we are fintech because we are disbursing loans to the last mile person, as he said, right? The farmers and the FPUs. Very similar to what the analogy which I usually give is the Muthoot Finance, which I was talking with few of the members here. So just like you avail gold loan, now you can also avail commodity loans. So that's what we are into it. So one of the question which Kumar you asked, I am coming back to it, was regarding the upskilling of people. So what I feel, and we have been doing here is, unless we link the learning of person to an outcome and an opportunity within the organization, that doesn't work. So for example, if I talk about my organization, we have took a Udemy course to make sure people learn on time. But then since we are also into farm monitoring using satellites, unless I have linked my image processing module with a college intern learning from Udemy and implementing it on the ground within the 6 months of his joining. So the way we have linked the learning to a company productive output. Otherwise, it's just a theory, right? So that way we have tried to change. So when I was at Flipkart, the L&D model being implemented there was totally different versus what we are doing here. Our focus has been more on upskilling people by enabling the line managers also. So being a leader, if we can't focus on learning as a culture, being ingrained into the line managers, where you can't talk about career growth, where you can't talk about individual growth, and you talk about only routine operations, then again it doesn't work. So that's it from my side. Yeah.
Gaurav, just to add few things out of it, I am also Gaurav actually. And so we are an reinsurance branch, and I think what I take from all of you, you are more of digital side of the things. I'm from a finance background, and I'm currently working as a CEO there. So in an insurance industry, if I ask, I literally see, we have a lot of meeting with the chairman of IDA, and you must have seen news a day before where they say they want 100% cashless for health scheme. We talk about 50,000, 70,000. We are talking about crores of people. It's not easy. It's not simple. But I think digitization and automation, I think, comes from need and desire, which I understand from you as well, and this is my experience as well. If there is a need and desire, then only it can happen. Otherwise, it cannot happen at all. Because till the time the chairman was not pushing, all the CEOs we are sitting set and then okay, 50% automation is happening on a cashless and rest on reimbursement model. It's fine. But now every CEO is asking the CTOs and asking them to make a process where we can do 100% digitization. It's almost very difficult. I'm not saying impossible, because it's now have to happen. And the target for that, in any case, the Pradhan Mantri's idea, which he has just mentioned about Suraksha for everybody, is to 2047. That means it's 100% insurance for everybody. Nobody will remain uninsured that time. So that is an idea and plan. And to implement that plan, this is the first part of it, that at least make it 100% cashless by 2027. And that's very, very aggressive, because you have to take all the hospitals, dispensaries, small nursing homes on the platform, making digitization. Making it with minimum limited setup is easy. When you're talking about the entire industry, this become a problem and this become an issue as well. But I think the need is there today. The desire is there. I think the most important thing, the people and the ground wanted to accept it. The people who are going to the hospital is fine with an app and saying that, okay, I'm making a claim on app. I'm not waiting for anybody else. So this is how the things are changing. I think on agri side, I have a very good example. What he's saying is agri monitoring through satellite. I think if you understood, we are doing agri insurance in India almost last 10 years, 12 years now time. And maybe more than that, but actually it comes from the picture after that. And earlier the process, how the agri insurance claims have been paid to the farmers, how it can work? how it was working. The main thing is that somebody goes on the ground, take a sample in the physical form, make it tested in the lab, and made extrapolation on the entire place. This is the normal process followed even now in many places. But what he's talking about, satellite monitoring for him for a loan purpose, this is what now the insurance industry is doing. And the entire West Bengal was the pioneer state for it. It has been done 6 years, 7 years back, where the through satellite, insurance companies are monitoring the the yield of the crops based on many factors, and then pay the claims automatically to the farmer, whether it actually happened on the ground or not, but they are paying the claims based on that. So there's a lot of digitization happen in many places, but the biggest thing is that the incline of the government, because small things which all we can do, but if it is not coming from the top, I think it is almost impossible. So upskilling, I think, just one thing to add very quickly, I've been attending many finance forums, and the biggest risk is for the finance people. This is what will happen to our job, because everything is done by digitization, everything is done by automation, and then finally AI now coming in. What will happen to the job? So I think one good example I always have in my life is I met Mr. Junjunwala, is one of my company, when I was there as in CFO, and he always says that he started his life as a person who was a chartered accountant. He was a chartered accountant, and he used to do digital manual audits. You've been part of EY, I was part of EY. We know that how it has been started in our area. So he was doing it in manual checking Bahi Khata, and when he died, before that, is one of the biggest user of the digitization. I think upskilling, is coming from a need and desire. If it is not there, it is not there. And I think the good example is given that why we are sitting here, because we upskilled ourselves. And if we would have not, then we will be also sitting with many other people who are sitting down there. So I think there are very few examples given in there. I think the most important thing is need and desire, which we have to keep follow and keep upskilling ourselves. Thank you.
No, absolutely, Gaurav. I think three elements, right? Need and desire is the fundamental point. And then Abhishek, you spoke about customers and internal. I think government is another top-down approach that's driving some of the innovation. And good to see the cross-pollination of ideas that we are going through industry to industry, people to people. Now, with every innovation and every digital piece, we talked about experience. We talked about rural empowerment. We talked about people who is not tech savvy to do that, right? Which also brings a new threat to everyone is how about the security and the data that you individually handle. So what's the group's perspective of handling data and security in the new age platforms that we have?
Hi, I am Vishal. I can speak on many things and many much, but just to start with, three use cases I would like to say. I'm sure we all have eaten chocolates, especially Cadbury's, Ferrero Rocher all the time, and our family members also have many time eaten those. But many of the time when we open the chocolate, either the color is distorted or it's not in the shape what it should be. So we took a deep dive into it. We found that the warehouses where the chocolates are being stored, there was lack of the temperature monitoring. So we installed a special device which is manufactured by us only over there, and we are able to real time monitor the temperature of those warehouses, with the help of which we will be able to make the chocolates in the shape which it should be as a user liking. One of the example. This is from the enterprise side. And nowadays we are serving almost major FMCGs in India as well as the world. The second example is National Highway Authority of India 1033 number. We all have used some or the other time. But the objective to use that number is, if I make a call on that number, the help which I required, either some accident has happened or something else has happened, automatically, or there is in outside India, there is a word called golden time to save the life. So that same thing Government of India is willing to cater. With this, we have implemented this solution for National Highway Authority of India, where when you call on 1033, within 30 minutes you will be able to get the police van or the ambulance, and I can even track till the last mile that if the ambulance has reached over there, what time the ambulance driver, if needed, has admitted you in the hospital. This is the second use case for the government. The third use case, one of the healthcare friend is there. Government of India again has taken an initiative to eradicate tuberculosis till 2025. For that, we have designed smart mom box. With this, any of the patient who is willing to take the medicine on regular time, the box allows you to take the medicine on regular time, automatically will get you the schedule reminders. Government also on a single digital health card for India comes to know what time all the patients are taking medicine and all.
Exactly the point. So if you relate it back to this point saying you have government data, you have personal information sitting across, how is that secure?
So
how do you ensure security of that data so that the
correct.
privacy of individuals are not compromised?
Correct. So again, the technology plays a key role into it. Technology, the data is now coming rather than manual intervention from the technology devices only. We are manufacturing IoT devices, so the device itself is having a security layer. Whenever the data is being transmitted from the device to the cloud, it is again secure in an encrypted manner.
Okay.
However, 100% security, if you say, because nowadays a tech word is there, hacking, anti-hacking, all those things are there, is not possible. But then also, whatever best it could be done at a hardware level as well as at the cloud level, both the ways the securities are being there.
So Kumar, I will
So,
answer in my own way.
yeah.
Two ways it will be driven. One is law, because no company would like to implement things which will add to its cost, and there is a compliance cost, right? So unless you force, they will not do. Number one. Number two, the customer. The customer will demand it. Like today we're talking about ESG goals, right? Because the customer is demanding. People are more aware. My son is more aware about environment. So similarly, the customer will become aware of the security things. And once they have choice, they have options. The organizations will have no option but to comply. So this is the why of this. The house will be on each industry to figure out how they will meet, these two things. One is the compliance by the law, and other is the demand of the customer.
See, Gaurav, on this, on the security, cyber security continue to be a major risk for every company. If you look at the latest World Economic Forum report, among the top 10 risks, cyber security is number 2. For next 10 years, it continues to be among the top 10 risks. So it's not gonna away. As the digital penetration increase, we need to ensure we secure. And cyber security is not only data. Today it is coming to the level that if your systems are getting compromised, your business is at halt, right? We are listening many cases, right? Suddenly the entire organization come to a stall, your entire business is stopped because somebody has hacked your system. So you have to do it from two perspectives. How do you ensure your business continuity by cyber? At the same time, specifically from India, because I did this GDPR implementation also in past when I was working from a global place. The kind of penalties which is bringing on the table, are humongous, and it's very, very, difficult for you to absorb in case that penalty comes to you. So you have to become more aware. How do you capture the data? How do you secure the data? How do you retain the data, right? A simple data, I'll tell you a simple example. We got and this is a practical problem. I see, so my CEO got a mail from one of the customer. I registered on your app on this particular year, and I remember I have only give this information to you. Now, when I go to other app, I'm seeing an auto population of the information. Either you have leaked the data or you have shared the data. If you don't come back to me and inform me what you have done, I'm going to make it public that you do this kind of thing. Now, this is a brand reputation, right? Now we have to go deeper. We went deep, we understand, we identify this customer, we identify information. When we look at it, there was a very small spelling thing which otherwise would have not been visible, and we identify this is not us, this is not our data, the records what we have are very different than what he is projecting. And then it was one of the leak which happened, which you made public, that yes, this money of customer data has been compromised. But you have to be very, very proactive in handling these kind of a situation. So it is largely business continuity. It is largely how do you capture, how do you come out of the regulation challenges, which like DPD Act, which is coming in, while it is not visible yet, it's not been forced, but it is making everyone else fearful, right? So security is gonna be there. It's as digital is evolving, cyber security is also evolving. As we become intelligent, the hacker become more intelligent. Then, so it's a continuous, it's a continuum which will
the other way around, right? The hackers are more.
So, yeah, so I would like to add to the points sir mentioned and Mishra mentioned. So I come from the background of IT, cybersecurity, and big data. So a company called Inspira Enterprise. We are one of the leaders in this sector. So we usually, when we go to the client and try to educate and share the knowledge about data security and data privacy and all. So best example you would have heard recently about Kotak Bank, right? What happened? From last 2 years, RBI used to send them the notifications. You need to strengthen your data posture, security, data around you need to implement DLP and relative hardware and softwares. And lastly, they imposed a 500 crore fine on that. You talked about business continuity, where it comes, right? So the business continuity has been stopped. They are losing the new customers, right? They cannot board the new customers. Now they have the budget to strengthen their data security or the security posture. They are investing 500 to 1,000 crores rupees. Earlier, when we were reaching out to them to strengthen their data security, they didn't have the time, they didn't have the money. So this is what happens, right? When you face the issue, then you come up with the budget that is more about, right? Right. Correct.
The same with the business driver. Now the Kotak understood the penalty. Now they will not stop the budget at all.
Right.
But I don't think so. Yeah.
Right.
I think this is the thing which me and Priyanshu were talking offline, that if it is via regulation, it is being done. But if you look at the WhatsApp, right, government has been doing otherwise. They have been trying to give us the data. You can't encrypt the PII data, at least for us. Right, but since I'm also from an NBFC, I can totally understand the DLP part, and we have been trying to implement IDS, WAF, these kind of security measures. We have been trying to store our data in cold storages so that we can somehow de-link it to it. So that my business, when you talk about BCP, we have a mechanism so that even if my data is compromised, my data is still stored somewhere. So the compromise can also be related to my data is getting stolen, right? So there are multiple type of risks, which we can talk about. So that's why we talk about risk mitigation by implementing WAF, IDS, intrusion detection system, and web application firewall.
The last point which I will add on this, that cyber security is nothing, let's say it's a rocket science, nobody can't do it, and we were discussing this. If you can't improve your cyber security posture in 90 days, you can't do it 9 years as well. So the tech which is available in the market is largely the same. We do a lot of analysis paralysis to fix the fundamentals, right? We don't fix the foundation. So let's say, for example, it's a little techy, but I'll just give, your systems are not patched on the ground. You do not have a proper antivirus, and then you are saying I'm bringing all the top tech, and largely every intervention happened from the basic message. And you see, so the only important point about cyber is that it is a discussion of the boardroom today, and it is because the kind of business impact it is creating, that if your business is not working. So if we come from that particular route, so when we were doing cybersecurity transformation, I'll just share an example. So I gave an assessment to CEO that despite what it looks, this is exactly where we stand today. And these are the 10 things we do. He has nothing to do with that. A simple question is, how fast you can recover my business in case anything happens, right? So if we have those drivers in mind, that how my recovery will happen fast, how do I ensure my continuity happen to the business? You bring any tech, he has nothing to do with. The only focus is, how do you ensure my brand reputation? How do you ensure my continuity of business, and how the recovery faster happens? So
just to add, what he's saying is, even now today, GDPR, we all know what kind of penalties are there, and globally the insurance is also available for that. But in the insurance industry, that is again a discussion with the chairman of IDI. In India, none of the insurance companies still ready to do insurance of cyber security, and that's the biggest problem. And the reason of that is the new act. The kind of penalties have been introduced into is to try to equivalent to the GDPR, but we have not reached in security to the the global level. I think I understand your point is it's not a rocket science, but still it's very far because the problem is again coming from the CFO's room, that cost. I think important is that the companies have to understand the requirement of implementing the security threats, risk awareness, and ultimately how it can be mitigated. Otherwise, it's going to hit very well. You talk about business continuity. I'm saying if even though it's 10% of those penalties which has been introduced in the new act will be done on one of the company will shut down. Those kind of penalties are there in that.
See, I'll just give you a basic background. In healthcare, आज से 20 साल पहले what used to be there? People used to know that HAS system is there. Just go, register, come back. आपका सारा treatment plan you can see over there. Now what happened? Since my colleagues has already discussed about the cyber security, when we talk about the cyber security, when we talk about the security, when we talk about the data protection and everything, so our layers has changed since there are different domain now into the IT. Somebody who looks after the app, somebody who looks after the infrastructure, somebody who looks after the operations, as I'm into the operations, and somebody who looks after the cyber security. As a CFO, the CFO of all the companies are now little bit focused on the security part. पहले लोग देखते थे कि infrastructure security होना चाहिए. Now they know that tech should be a security part because the data is stored over there. So cyber security में what we used to see that only the antivirus part is the important part initially. आज SOC है, NOC है, encryption है, firewall है, उसके ऊपर और भी बहुत सारे DLP और ये सब solution है. Even in healthcare we have a NABH, National Accreditation Board for Healthcare Provider. We have a JCI. Okay, they are the governing body who focuses on the security part, who focuses on the data protection, who focuses on how the data is kept privacy in the healthcare sector, how data is being flown. Since in the innovation part, into the digital innovation, we are having lot of applications which are interface, even the EHR record. Patient का एक single data, उसमें patient का growth into the his lab reports, into his cumulative lab reports, into his study of that lab reports within that. अब जो tuberculosis की बात कर रहे थे, in that case there are different modalities, CT, X-ray, MRI or ultrasound, कोई भी चीज हो. The data which is captured, which is kept into a database, which is kept into a data center, we don't know where it is kept, how it is stored, how it is circulated. So data protection law is very important. So it is very focused. Even CFO, CEO, who, even the senior directors, even the managing directors, even the chairman, they knows and they focus on this part. What healthcare sector is growing. So as for the growing of that healthcare sector, our data is like, we have to prepare a data lake now. Why data lake? Because there are a lot of data which is coming from the different sources. एक person आता है hospital में, what they used to do? They used to stand on a queue and then they go for billing. Now what happened? They make the appointment on the appointment system. Data is stored in the appointment system. When they comes to the hospital, the billing system has that billing data. When it goes for a treatment to the patient, to the doctor, a patient goes to the doctor, he writes the EP. EP में उसका पूरा clinical history होता है, and everything got stored in anywhere, any places. So the security is very much important. I agree. Endpoint is very important. Patching is very important. We forget the basic need. Like if you see many of the healthcare hospital in the rural areas, they still use the XP system. They are unaware of why to use the upgraded system, why to use Windows 10, Windows 11 with new patches. What are their requirement is? आपका data flow हो रहा है, it can be travel to anywhere. If somebody comes and plug in the pen drive, the data can be you know how it goes out, how it goes to a data center, what happens. So for me, it is very much important in terms of security and in terms of privacy of the patient.
The last point which I thought, I was holding myself, but I thought I should share with. See, the tech thing will be done by the tech guys. You bring the partner Inspira sitting out here, you can call them, they can tell you what 10 tech you need to bring. Again, everything come back to the software aspect. Let's say for an example, there's an attack. How the entire organization going to respond to that? No one teaches you in normal scenario. It is only known to the company where it happens. You are a public listed company, the media guy is sitting outside you, what information you need to give, by when you need to inform CERT, by when you need to inform other people, who is going to communicate, who is not going to communicate, what are you going to tell your employees. So recently we organized to, this, what do you call, tabletop exercise. And believe me, we called every EXCO member, few board members we invited, but they could not join, they did in the group. For those 2.5 hours, everyone was so much ingrained in learning that particular. This is, we never thought, what will happen in those scenarios.
Yeah.
So this is one thing which I want to say, that forget about the tech your people will manage. But when it comes to responses, what will be the responsibility of CHRO, CFO, what CEO will communicate, what tech guy will do. So this is something which is very important. We all should look for. I thought
No, absolutely. I think this is one topic. We're just getting started, but we are all cognizant of the fact that we've spared time first 1 hour and we've already 10 minutes delayed. But thank you all for sharing the perspectives, right from the needs and desire to who's driving it, customer, internals, governments, etc. How do we enhance talent around it, continuous culture of innovation that we want to drive across how do we take care of cyber security. So I think interesting conversations, different perspectives, different industries, different functions. So glad. Thank you all for sharing your perspective, and Disha, over to you as we conclude it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kumar, Gaurav, for your, the way you just moderated the entire panel and so much participation from our delegates. And I would really like to thank our speakers once again, Prashant, Mishra, Dipankar, Ghosh, and Narrottam, Sharma. Thank you once again for taking out the time and for this insightful, enriching discussion. I know for one that I gained a lot from it, and I can possibly say the same for everybody here based on just how involved we all were. Thank you once again. Really appreciate it.